You are Locked On Nuggets POSTCAST, powered by Mile High Sports, part of Locked On Sports Denver on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What is going on, Nuggets Nation, and welcome on into your Locked On Nuggets postcast right here on your Locked On Sports Denver YouTube channel. Unfortunately, it is not going to be a happy show tonight as the Milwaukee Bucks take care of business over the Denver Nuggets, 121-112, your final score here as Denver unable to rally there in the second half. Pretty close in the first half. Denver up at one point. They were up at the half and, pretty competitive there. And then the three-point shooting just absolutely crushed the fellas tonight. And they just didn't get enough from their starting lineup as well, I would say. And the bench is the bench, right? Russell Westbrook brought some good energy there early in the game as well after Denver got off to a little bit of a sluggish start, even though they put up 30 points there in the first quarter. But it is a disappointing loss, whichever way you slice it, for the Denver Nuggets, 121-112 here on this Thursday, February the 27th. But I'm your host, Aniello Piro. You guys can follow me on social media at Media by AP if your heart desires. And tonight's episode of your Locked On Nuggets postcast is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. More from our friends over at FanDuel in just a little bit. But man, I've been talking about it. And the good part is Denver's going to have an opportunity tomorrow to try to bounce back against the Detroit Pistons, second night of a back-to-back. Denver, I don't have the record in front of me, but with multiple days of rest, they've actually not had a great record this season. And this is a game that you'd like to have. Obviously, you want to try to win them all, right? But on national TV against Giannis and the Bucks, and it's funny because I forget the exact length of it all, but this is like the first time in a long time, I want to say, that we've had Denver and Milwaukee on national TV with Jokic and Giannis, two former MVPs, two NBA champions, and their respective squads going up against each other. And so that was some excitement kind of entering into this matchup tonight is, okay, you're finally going to get to see some action between these two on the national stage, right? A good opportunity for Denver to kind of showcase their championship pedigree as they try to get back to try to climb that mountaintop. And they were able to do that in the first half. They actually played pretty well. It was knotted up at 30 all after the first quarter. And then Denver takes a small lead into halftime after outscoring Milwaukee 27-24 in the second quarter. And then it was the second half. I mean, it was just all downhill from here. Nikola Jokic was aggressive tonight. We'll talk about him in a moment. Jamal Murray did his thing as well. But, I have it up here on the rundown. Like where? Hello, Michael Porter Jr., where you at, bud? Where is Michael Porter Jr. at? And he just looks absolutely lost out there. And that's nothing new. We kind of know what to expect with Michael Porter Jr. You got to take the good with the bad. And unfortunately, when it's bad, it's pretty bad for Michael Porter Jr. There's really no other way to put it. But when he's on and you've got Jokic, Murray, and MPJ all in sync, which does not happen very often, or at least hasn't happened in recent memory, this Nuggets team is a tough out. But tonight, Murray was solid, I would say. Jokic did his thing, another triple-double, walk in the park for the big fella. And, outside of that, I just think they lacked a little bit of firepower in this one. Giannis completely cleaned up tonight. I don't know if it was a season high or a career high. It was some sort of a high for Giannis. I caught that on the outro here on TNT. And his rebounds tonight, 28 points for Giannis, 19 boards to go along with 7 assists for the Greek Freak. So he turned in a phenomenal performance. Damian Lillard added 19 of his own. Sorry to Charles Barkley, as he was 1 point shy of hitting his first parlay of the season. It's hard to believe he's 0 for 21 or 0 for 22 now on the parlays on Inside the NBA this year. But that's just the way that it goes sometimes. But, another thing to keep an eye on here is the numbers that Brook Lopez put up. The former New Jersey Net back in the day, but an NBA champion with the Milwaukee Bucks as well. He put up 22 and grabbed 4 boards. So a nice night for Brook Lopez, as Denver just really didn't have an answer for the two big guys down low for the Milwaukee Bucks. And, Michael Malone has talked about this time and time again, that defense is his biggest concern with this Denver Nuggets team. They're not even, they're technically, I guess, middle of the pack, but they're really closer to the bottom. I believe they're 19th overall in the NBA entering into this matchup in defensive rating, which is just not going to cut it. Offensively, we know that they're fine. They love to, they can score points at will. And, they just got to figure out a way to try to match that energy when it's all said and done on defense as they are on offense. Fernando here in the comment section, what's going on, my man? Says, I have lost faith in MPJ's 3-point shot. I was going to save some MPJ discussion for the second segment, and we'll do a full, maybe not the whole segment, but we'll really dive into MPJ in the second segment. But Fernando brings up a good point here. I mean, it has been tough sledding for Michael Porter Jr. We'll get the game log pulled up, but I mean, tonight, 35 minutes played, 12 points, a team worst, -20 in the box plus minus, 3 assists. I mean, you like the rebounds. He grabbed 10 of them tonight, so he did have a double-double. But again, Michael Porter Jr., like you like the rebounds, but you need Michael Porter Jr. to put the ball in the hoop. Like that is what Michael Porter Jr. is here for. And he was an abysmal 5 of 22 from the field tonight. 5 of 22. I mean, that is just, it's terrible. It's bad for any NBA player, but especially a guy like Michael Porter Jr., who is a max contract guy or a fringe max contract guy, with the money that he's making. And, I always hate to kind of bring it back to the money, but it's like when you're absorbing that much of the cap, right? And Denver's got, 4 really well-paid players in Jokic, Murray, Aaron Gordon, who just signed the extension, and now Michael Porter Jr. I mean, you are going to live and die by that core. And it's been a rough year for Michael Porter Jr. He's had some moments, he's had some spurts, but in particular, post-All-Star break for Michael Porter Jr. has been just brutal. And I don't know if it's one of those situations where you can just shoot yourself out of this slump. I mean, you're going to have to at this point. You got to figure out a way to get Michael Porter Jr. going. Maybe he's got to bounce back tomorrow, try to stay in rhythm or reestablish some rhythm in the second night of a back-to-back. So you're playing back-to-back days, obviously. But tonight, 12 points, only 12 points for Michael Porter Jr. on 2 of 11 shooting from 3 and 5 of 22 from the field. Took a team high 22 shots from the field tonight. Murray was behind him. He was 9 for 20, so you like that. But, Denver, part of the reason, not even part of the reason, but the reason, outside of just Milwaukee and Giannis doing their thing that they lost this game is they shot 9 of 34 from 3 tonight. They hit 9 3-point shots, guys. 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 2 hands you can count it on 34 attempts. And then the inverse to that is, Milwaukee actually only took 34 attempts as well, but, they knocked down 14 of them, which is good for 41%. And you saw that sequence there with about a minute and change left in the game where, Denver, I think it was Marv Albert who even said it, like Michael Porter Jr. missed a 3-point shot. Had that gone in, would have made it a 5-point game. And that game would have been a lot different toward the end, a lot tighter. You have a lot more opportunities if you're the Nuggets in that sense. And, Michael Porter Jr. ended up hitting a garbage time 3 after this sequence here. And it's like, okay, like there it is, right? But it's just one of those situations where you've got to be frustrated with the overall performance tonight. It is one game, but, as we've talked about throughout the course of these shows post-All-Star break, as fun as that 9-game win streak was, now that's completely in the past. As nice as Monday's win, Monday's win against Indiana, that's in the past. And Indiana is not in the same league as Milwaukee in the Eastern Conference, like in the sense of like competitiveness. Like Indiana's a solid team, but Milwaukee's got some real power players there, despite their struggles. We are in the middle portion of one of these stretches for the Denver Nuggets here down the stretch, and all of these games, we'll go over it again at the end of the show, are going to be tough for Denver. No easy, there's like 2 or 3 or 4 easy games on the schedule, but for the most part, 80+% of the remaining games for Denver on their schedule are against quality opponents, playoff caliber teams, championship caliber teams, including Detroit, who they got tomorrow. Not the championship part, but playoff caliber teams, much improved are the Detroit Pistons. So it's a frustrating loss, 121-112 tonight. Denver falls to 38-21 on the year. Milwaukee improves to 33-25 on the season. They're now 21-9 at home, and I think I caught it on the postcast here as well. They've won, I believe, 5 of their last 6 games at home as well. So, Milwaukee's definitely trending in the right direction. You're not going to see them unless it's a finals matchup. But this was the first matchup this season between Denver and Milwaukee was ready to play. Denver did a decent job in the first half, like I said, of trying to keep this game close. But when it's all said and done, the cream rose to the top tonight, and that was the Milwaukee Bucks as they get the job done here tonight, 121-112. All right, let's get ready to hit the first break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about Michael Porter Jr. We'll dive into his recent stretch of performance and give you some big picture thoughts on why he has to be better. Everybody knows that he has to be better, but it needs to happen soon, right? Because they didn't trade him. Michael Porter Jr. was like the one guy that, you thought that Denver might try to get off of. They opted not to move him. He was playing really well before the trade deadline, up until the All-Star break. And since the All-Star break, man, I mean, it has been a downward trend for Michael Porter Jr. But hopefully the end is near. Hopefully he'll snap out of it and start playing his best basketball down the stretch here with the playoffs rapidly approaching. So we'll talk to Michael Porter Jr. And as always, guys, if you have any thoughts, opinions, comments, questions, like my guy Fernando just dropped here a couple of minutes ago, make sure to get those in the comment section. We'll have some fun, go back and forth here on a somber night as the Denver Nuggets lose to the Milwaukee Bucks 121-112, your final score. Okay, we'll hit our first break. We'll come back and do just that, talking Michael Porter Jr. right here on your Locked On Nuggets postcast. Stick with me, folks. All right, you guys, real quick, let me tell you about our friends over at FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get it on than with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on the fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether I'm backing my team for a late-game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch three, I never feel like I missed my chance. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Guys, I like to always say it when I do the read, I'm an active FanDuel user. It is my personal favorite sports book. I know it'll be yours too as well. So if you have not checked out our friends over at FanDuel, be sure to do so. Take advantage of that promotion and let them know that Locked On Nuggets sent you. Okay, welcome on back into your Locked On Nuggets postcast. I am your host, Aniello Piro. You guys can follow me on social media at Media by AP. And if you're watching live on YouTube, appreciate y'all as always. Do me a favor, if you can, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button. That way you guys never, ever miss an episode of your Locked On Nuggets postcast right here on your Locked On Sports Denver YouTube channel. I'm sure Swipa, Ryan, and Matt Moore are going to have a field day with this performance here tonight from Denver. They did put up 112. It's not like they got held to, sub 100 or whatever it might be. But, we're used to Denver being closer to Milwaukee territory, scoring 120 points plus when they're playing their best basketball. But we talked about it. Let's dive into it. Michael Porter Jr., man, what is going on with the kid? 12 points tonight, as I mentioned earlier, a team worse, minus 20 in the box plus minus, 5 of 22 from the field, 2 of 11 from 3. I mean, he just looks broken out there. We saw him missing some bunnies. We saw him missing some shots that were used to him knocking down. And it's like, not all the shots that he misses are terrible, misses. Like there's a couple that are rimming out, they're right there. It's like it's on the precipice of falling in the hoop, but he just can't figure out a way to knock down the three-point shot or really any shot right now on a consistent basis. And let's take a look here at his game log. It has been tough sledding for him, since coming back from the All-Star break. I mean, let's do leading up to the All-Star break as well, because he had, 4 or 5 pretty solid high-scoring games there leading up to the break. But again, against who? He did it against Philly, Charlotte, New Orleans twice, and Orlando. So, he puts up on the final day of January, he put up 24 points, 2 of 3 from 3 in that game against Philly. Followed it up on the 1st of February. So again, second night of a back-to-back with a fine performance. You want to see, I mean, it's not even fine. He put up 15 points, but it's not fine because he was 0 of 6 from 3, right? But at least he put up 15, even though he only put up 12 tonight. So it's kind of a same kind of cadence, right? But he was able to bounce back from that. On the 3rd of February against New Orleans, remember they played them 2 games in a row. He cleaned up in both of those games at home. 36 points in the first, 39 points in the second. And the common denominator as well in both of those games. In the first one, he was 7 of 12 from 3. And the second one, he was 5 of 9 from 3. And then he followed that up again, second night of a back-to-back here, with a 30-point performance against the Orlando Magic. So, there you are, 5 games leading up to the All-Star break, 4 out of the 5. Like, you don't expect Michael Porter Jr. to drop 30 every game, but he's certainly capable of doing that when he's on the money. And so, you're feeling pretty good. Okay, they didn't trade him. He's playing well. things are coming together, post All-Star break, Jokic playing well, Murray playing better, Gordon healthy, Westbrook back. And I know that MPJ was also dealing with some injuries as well that I should mention. So, but, he had the All-Star break to try to recover. And, ever since they've come back from the break, it has just been terrible. It's been terrible. First game back against Charlotte, only 6 points, 0 of 3 from 3. Against the Lakers last weekend, 13 points, 1 of 4 from 3. The rebounds have been good. Put up 11 against Charlotte on the 20th. 8 against the Lakers. Monday against Indiana, 19 points. Okay, 1 of 4 from 3 was okay. 11 rebounds, you like that, but you need more. And then tonight, as we mentioned, took 11 3-point shots, a team high 11 3-point shots tonight for MPJ. Only 2 of them, 1-2, went in for him. So I don't know what is going on with Michael Porter Jr. I'm not sure, how to necessarily, I'm not a coach, right? I'm not sure what the conversations are like behind the scenes, but he has got to figure out a way to get that shot back, because not only is it important for him, it's critical to the outlook of this team. The Nuggets, with Michael Porter Jr. playing like he is right now, I would say their ceiling's probably, their ceiling is probably Western Conference Finals, just because Jokic and Murray, that two-man game, they could get hot and run the table even without Michael Porter Jr. playing well. But the point being, if Michael Porter Jr. figures it out like Jamal has, right? Because Jamal and Michael Porter Jr. were kind of flip-flopping bad game after bad game in the first half of the season. If Michael Porter Jr. can flip that switch and get back on track, I think Denver's got a real shot to come out of the West. I really do believe that. But I don't think Denver can pull that off without Michael Porter Jr. As great as Nikola Jokic is, as nice as Jamal Murray has been, you need that third horse to put put the ball in the hole. And I understand, I talked about in the first segment that defense is the problem, or I guess the biggest concern, rather. That's what Michael Malone said, and I tend to agree with that as well, just looking at the numbers. It's an offensive-driven league. And especially it's a three-point-driven league. And Michael Porter Jr. on paper, is the best three-point shooter the Denver Nuggets have. 100%. And I just thought, to kind of sum it all up with Michael Porter Jr., you could tell that he's not in a great spot just because of some of the shots that he's missing. Not just the three-point shots, but bunnies, layups, high quality, high percentage shots and in and around the basket that you're used to seeing Michael Porter Jr. use his size to his advantage to get the ball in the hole. And so, we'll have to see. Again, you'd rather him shoot like this right now than in the first round of the playoffs and, everything, goes up in smoke. But it is definitely something to keep an eye on. It's been a trend, like I said, since we got back from the All-Star break. Michael Porter Jr. has not had many good games. Really hasn't had a good game in general since the All-Star break, but it's also been a bit hit or miss. He's only averaging 18.6 points a game, 6.7 rebounds a game. You like that, and a couple of assists. And we know that he can be a little Olay at times on defense. I think it was Monday's game against Indiana that I touched on that. So he's got to get it together. I think the Nuggets will be fine, but it is a disappointing game tonight. I like the Nuggets tomorrow, and I know they're better than Detroit, but they've responded really well after a loss throughout the course of the season. So I do like them tomorrow. I wonder, I just did the FanDuel read. We got a line for that yet? Let's see. If I had to guess, maybe Denver -5. It would be my guess. Let's see how much basketball I watch here. Oh, wow. It's a pick. Wow. It's a pick 'em. Just about. Denver -116 on the money line, -1 ATS. Interesting. Might have to dip my toe in that water. But, it just moved. Oh, now Denver's even money. Now they're the dog. That literally just happened right in front of me. Now they're +100. So if you want to get on that, FanDuel's got you at +100 for tomorrow night's game between Denver and Detroit. 236 is your total in that one. But yeah, just like I said, we're going to do the Michael Porter Jr. segment here, and we did that. Fernando here says, how worried are you with the Nuggets defense? I'm concerned, but I think defense, as much as anything, at least from people that I've talked to around the league, pickup is not a good example, but defense is effort-based, right? And I think they've got the bodies, right? Like Zeke Naji's been playing well. Christian Brown plays good defense. Russell Westbrook brings the energy. We know what Jokic does. Jamal can lock in on defense as well. Aaron Gordon's a good defender. So I do believe the thing that concerns me out of the defense is I don't want them to rely on flipping the switch and just like, okay, it's playoff time, let's go, right? You want to see them build some momentum and build some confidence in their defense leading up to the playoffs. So I am concerned, but, I believe that Denver's defense should buckle down a little bit as we get closer and closer to the playoffs. At least that's my optimistic point of view. So we'll see. But tonight, man, like I said, I had to do the Michael Porter Jr. segment just because it's been a trend that has just been tough to watch. I like Michael Porter Jr. I think he's a great player. I was happy they didn't trade him. I want to see Denver try to go out there and run it back with this core, but they're not going to get very far with the performances that Michael Porter Jr. has been turning out as of late. So it is what it is. But all right, let's hit my final break. When we come back, we'll get ready to put a bow on the show. As always, guys, if you're watching live on YouTube, appreciate y'all. Drop some comments. Let me know how you're feeling out there as the Denver Nuggets lose tonight to the Milwaukee Bucks 121-112. We'll have a final segment and put a bow on the show when we come back right here on your Locked On Nuggets postcast. Back in just a moment, folks. All right, you guys, let me tell you about our friends over at Robinhood. I'm also an active Robinhood user, and, it's been interesting in the stock markets lately, but let me tell you about them because Robinhood is a great place to get started. And with Robinhood Gold, you can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. The privileges of the very privileged are no longer exclusive. With Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted by 3%. Plus, you also get 4% APY on your cash in a non-retirement accounts. That's over 8 times the national savings average. The perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive your 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, just sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rates subject to change. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 a month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to robinhood.com/boost. Over 8 times the national average savings account interest rate claim is based on data from the FDIC as of November the 18th, 2024. Robinhood Gold or Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. So if you want those privileges of the high net worth for any net worth, be sure to check out our friends over at Robinhood Gold. You can sign up right now at robinhood.com/gold and let them know that Locked On Nuggets sent you. Okay, welcome on back into your Locked On Nuggets postcast. I am your host, Aniello Piro, getting ready to wind it on down here on a Thursday installment of the program. Unfortunately, Denver unable to string together a second consecutive victory after beating the Pacers on Monday. Had a couple of days off to get ready for this one, and they ultimately fall flat 121-112. Denver came out a bit flat in this game as well. Picked it up at the midway point of the first quarter and the second quarter where they outscored Milwaukee 27-24. But the second half was just abysmal. Milwaukee outscored them 30-24 and then 37-31 there in the final period. And as we mentioned, the 3-point shooting was just not just with Michael Porter Jr., but the entirety of the team tonight was a catastrophe. 9 of 34. That's good for 26.5% for the Denver Nuggets. But really outside of that, pretty standard Nuggets game. They won the rebound battle 55-48. The assists were there as well. Turned the ball over 13 times, which resulted in 15 points. Milwaukee also turned the ball over 11 times, but that only resulted in 8 points for the Denver Nuggets. But the other kind of trademarks of this Nuggets team are points in the paint and fast break points. Both categories where Denver dominated tonight. 32 fast break points compared to just 16 for Milwaukee, and then 68 points. So, essentially half of Denver's points tonight coming in the paint, which is, to be expected with the outside shooting. But again, when you shoot 26.5% from three, if you have 4 or 5 of those threes go in, you can say this about any game, right? But like the overall complexion and dynamic of the game changes, and Denver's inability to knock down a 3-point shot in the first quarter and at the end of the game ultimately, came up and bit him in the rear end here tonight. So, got to wipe the slate clean, try to get back on track and try to figure this thing out. But it is a disappointing loss, whichever way you slice it tonight for Denver. Looking at some other stats, some of the guys, Aaron Gordon, 9 points, 1 of 6 from 3. Murray, as I mentioned, put up 20. Big fella, 32, 14 and 10. So a triple-double for him. Christian Brown with a nice game. He put up 13 and 10. So double-double for CB. Bench was the bench. Strother, you like that. 2 of 4 from 3, 12 points. I was talking about how I think Pickett to try to eat into his minutes a little bit after the last game. Russ, 10 points in 25 minutes. DeAndre and Zeke both with 2 points each. So, it is what it is. On to the next tier for the Denver Nuggets. And let's take a look at the upcoming schedule here real quick for Denver. As I've mentioned now a few times, tomorrow night, that is a 5 p.m. local time tip-off here in Colorado. So Detroit is Central Time, I want to say. So that's 6 p.m. local time, I want to say, in Detroit then. But 5 p.m. for all of our Nuggets fans out here in Denver. And then they'll have Saturday off before a juicy matchup, a fun matchup maybe a bad matchup, as Denver will take on the reigning defending NBA champion Boston Celtics at 11 a.m. Mountain Time. On ESPN and ABC there as well. So national TV once again. So we'll see them try to bounce back. And then, as I mentioned, man, I mean, this schedule does not get much easier. I know Phoenix isn't great, but after Boston, they've got Sacramento, then Phoenix, and then 2 games in a row against Oklahoma City. And then they've got Minnesota, Los Angeles right after that as well. So, this next, 5-6 game stretch here for Denver is going to be very, very interesting to see, how they can respond after a loss like tonight, but also do they have the tenacity to kind of, keep their heads down and put forth some good efforts against some really good teams in the NBA this season? Detroit, Boston, Sac, all competitive matchups. Obviously, Boston much better than the other 3, but then Oklahoma City back-to-back, the number 1 seed in the Western Conference right now. A bit of a gut check game for Denver coming up here as we get closer to the conclusion of the season. So, it's a disappointing loss, whichever way you slice it. They will play Milwaukee one more time this year at the end of March on the 26th. Of course, that game will be in Denver. So it should be exciting to see if Denver can get their get back in that matchup. But plenty of games, plenty of basketball to play before we get to that point in the schedule. But let me know how you guys are feeling out there. Any thoughts, comments, questions, whatever it might be? How concerned are you about the Denver Nuggets after their loss here tonight? The 3-point shooting, Michael Porter Jr., whatever it might be. Not exactly what Nuggets Nation was hoping for tonight on national TV as they lose to the Milwaukee Bucks. But all right, folks, that is going to do it for me on tonight's episode of your Locked On Nuggets postcast. Thank you guys so much for rocking with me as always. If you could do me a favor on your way out, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button. That way you guys never, ever, ever miss an episode of your Locked On Nuggets postcast right here on your Locked On Sports Denver YouTube channel. You guys can also follow me on social media at Media by AP. Keep up with me there as well. But it is a disappointing outcome tonight for the fellas as they lose to the Milwaukee Bucks and fall to 38-21 on the season. Right on. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday night, folks. We'll turn around and do it again mañana, hopefully after a victory, a bounce back win as Denver looks to take down the Detroit Pistons. Enjoy your Thursday night, folks. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.